Have you ever been told that because you're dealing with mental health stuff and you might possibly be going to therapy, you're working through trauma and all these things, that means that you can't possibly be spiritual? There's no way that these two things can exist at the same time? Well, recently I was told exactly that by someone who has known me for a long time and who also knows what I was dealing with for a long time. And then that hit me kind of out of the blue, and I was so flabbergasted that I didn't even know how to respond. And that prompted me to talk about it today in this video because show me one, just one tarot reader, astrologer, Reiki master, crystal ball worker, whatever you insert spiritual term here, who has their life completely figured out, who has their shit together and who knows exactly what to do, when to do it, how to do it, who doesn't need to go to therapy, who has worked through all of their trauma. You know what I call that? I call that a unicorn, and they don't exist. So let's talk about it. Welcome to another episode of Tarot by the Hour. My name is Maria. Thank you for being here. And so today my topic is spirituality. Are you really spiritual? In my case, am I spiritual? What even is spirituality? Because we use that word a lot in this community. And yeah, I just want to dive deeper into that. Now, in that moment, when this person told me these things, I could have responded in certain ways. I could have taken different approaches. For example, I could have taken the personal approach and said what spirituality means to me and how this relates to my human experience with, this meat suit in this incarnation, and talking about finding my purpose and using all these different tools like tarot and something, because I was told, because dealing with mental health issues myself, there is I have no business reading the cards for someone else and giving life advice to them when I don't even know what I'm doing. But like I said, I don't know one person who has it all figured out. And I know that good therapists, they also go to therapy. They're not like the kind of people who know everything and just because they have learned and studied therapy, they can analyze themselves. They also need an outsider's opinion. So I could have went with that approach, but I didn't. I could have also said that, spirituality and science are not so far apart. I think actually they're two sides of the same medallion. And the funny thing is, in that moment when I was accused of that, there was another person in the room present during this conversation. And that person, ironically, uses quantum physics to explain their life, and who was just 20 minutes before that conversation took place lecturing me about my life and how I could get my life back on track, while at the same time not having their life figured out for the past 20 years or so, 25 years. And yeah, basically just being a big hypocrite. And yeah, that was another thing that I could have said. I could have said, yeah, you can use science to integrate into spirituality as well. But I also didn't say that. I could have also taken the psychology approach and talked about shadow work and how spirituality actually helps me to work through all of this stuff. And that when talking to other people, I'm basically able to help because I'm talking from personal experience. How would you ever be able to help someone if you haven't experienced those things themselves? Then it's kind of difficult to relate to other people, I think. Because I would rather take advice from someone who's been through stuff, who's experienced lots of stuff, instead of someone who's been sitting in their ivory tower and doesn't know at all what the world out there looks like, who's just running on assumptions. But I also didn't say that. And I also could have went with a thought-provoking approach, and I could have asked questions and, asked them, okay, what do you think spirituality is? Give me your definition. I also didn't do that because in that moment, I was just so taken aback. I I just sat there like the deer in the headlights because I wasn't expecting that. And yeah, in that moment, I felt kind of betrayed or let down, however you want to say that. So, in terms of this conversation today, I, of course, looked up the dictionary definition of spirituality to know what we're even talking about. So, the dictionary says that spirituality is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. Or, in easier words, spirituality can be defined as an individual's search for ultimate or sacred meaning and purpose in life. Additionally, it can mean to seek out or search for personal growth, religious experience, belief in a supernatural realm or afterlife, or to make sense of one's own inner dimensions. And spirituality involves the recognition of a feeling or sense of belief that there is something greater than myself, something more to being human than sensory experience, and that the greater whole of which we are part is cosmic or divine in nature. So those would be ways of defining it according to, dictionaries. And yeah, I could have used all of that, but like I said, in that moment, I couldn't answer. And I also kind of thought that being attacked like that didn't really justify an answer. So I just shut down in that moment. Maybe it was the wrong thing to do, but in that moment, I just didn't feel like explaining myself. So, and I think part of that is also of the way that spirituality might be portrayed in the media, for example, how we consume it. And something that I'm noticing now more than ever, also having my own YouTube channel and, talking about spiritual things and watching other channels that, yeah, spirituality has become very mainstream and in times of, TikTok and Instagram, very trendy. And yeah, people are also using it in their whole influencer world. So we can see a lot of videos on social media, on whatever channel. Like if you found this video, then this reading is for you. And then a quick card pull and a quick message. Or telling me in 60 seconds how to manifest and, shift my reality and all these things. And yeah, I mean, some of these videos might have good advice. Other videos you can see are definitely doing it in order to, do the whole influencer thing. And with some, it's kind of hard to distinguish, are they genuine about it or are they doing it for fame or for clout, as the people say nowadays. So a lot of it has become just aesthetically pleasing because, we take these beautiful pictures of the altar, of the cards. We make sure everything looks nice and well curated and maybe even a filter on it and all that kind of stuff so that, yeah, we get lots of clicks and likes and subscribers and all of that. So that has definitely shifted compared to what spirituality was maybe 20 years ago. And also, the way that we go about it in more like a self-help, self-empowerment kind of way instead of more the occult, esoteric kind of way. And since we're now able to purchase all the tools and everything we could possibly need to practice our spirituality, it has become very commercialized. There is a very big business behind it. And companies are making lots of money with it. I mean, just look on Amazon how many tarot decks are out there right now. I don't even know. Like, it would be a very interesting number to know how many tarot decks are currently being sold, meaning in print, as like the mass market, as well as indie decks, things like that. Not taking into consideration the out of print ones, but that overall number would also be very interesting to know, like how many tarot decks are actually in existence. And yeah, like how that has changed also over the last 20 years. I mean, that's just wild. And nowadays you can just go into bookstores and buy tarot decks and other things like it's the most normal thing in the world. 20, 30 years ago, not so much. So it has become very mainstream, very normal, almost in a way. And yeah, there's a lot of consumerism behind it. So I was, with all of this, I was trying to look at like a timeline of how this might have shifted and how we even got to this point where we are right now. And I went back as far as the 1980s because I'm an 80s baby. So, and I'm also talking mostly about the experience here in Germany. I cannot speak to like what happened in America and how things came to pass there. So I'm using like Germany as my jumping off point for my experience here. And I see that Carla is here. Hi, thanks for being here, listening and cleaning. And Lady Blindwolf is here. Hi, thanks for being here. So, yeah, like, and in Germany, I also have to differentiate between East Germany and West Germany. So I was born in East Germany. So the things that happened in West Germany in the 80s didn't come to East Germany until after the fall of the walls, meaning in the 90s. And there's also a bit of a like time difference in between that. But in the 80s, I can say that here in Germany, spirituality was mostly associated with that so-called New Age movement, my favorite term. And I dislike that term, New Age movement, so much. Carla just did a video about that. Was it yesterday or the day before? Where she talked about the New Age movement. And yeah, I don't like that because, first of all, what movement? Where are we moving to? Who are we moving with? Like, what's the direction? What's the goal? I don't know. And okay, we got someone else. Yeah. TJ in GA, that's Georgia, is it? We've got Phoenix Fire here. Hello. Yeah, my favorite word, New Age movement. And so in Germany, here it became more like people are started to slowly come out of the hidden, doing it in private, not telling anyone about it, like the spirituality closet. And books started appearing in the bookstores about these kinds of things. Like I said, in West Germany in the 80s, East Germany started in the 90s. And suddenly things became available. And, you could start buying tarot decks. There were some catalogs where you could buy things from. And, this was before the internet. And it wasn't very much, but it was there. And also in the 90s, I remember like there were these afternoon talk shows on TV, and we had them in Germany as well. And with TV shows like X-Files and Buffy, Angel, Charmed, all of these promoting these kinds of things. And, there was also the talk of past lives. And I remember one specific afternoon talk show episode was dealing with past life stuff. And it was so funny because all the people sitting there were from Germany. I don't think, was there one from Austria? I don't remember. But it was very funny how in that lineup, we had Cleopatra sitting in there. There was some other famous king. There was, I don't know if Elvis was there, but like all these people, like very normal people in their past lives were some big, famous historical figure. And it was so funny that they all came from Germany and that they were all born roughly around the same time. They were all similar ages. And so, yeah, that whole thing, like things like that kind of turned this into like a gimmick where people would laugh about people in the New Age movement and be like, oh, those are just, they're just gaga. And that's why people also, as fast as this started coming up, also didn't take it seriously, like the other side. Like some people took it very seriously, but on the other side, there were people laughing about it, making fun of it. And so it was a strange time in the 90s. So let's see what I'm missing here in chat. Yeah, people say New Age when they don't understand something, I think. It's the biggest umbrella term that describes nothing. Same as conspiracy theorists when they don't understand your way of thinking. It's very dismissive. I think a lot of it started like in the late 80s, 90s, Westlaco starting to emerge in, of course, the whole Anton LaVey thing. Anton LaVey. I think I've heard that name. I'm not quite familiar what that was. There's always a bad apple. Yeah. And then, of course, on TV, there were also people like Uri Geller, the one who was bending the spoons. And there was, towards the late 90s, I remember James van Praag. He was also on one of the German talk shows. He was a special guest. And of course, he was reading the audience and all that stuff. And in the library, I found videos of Erich von Däniken traveling to Egypt and to Middle America, looking at all these temples and ruins and all that stuff and explaining it all away, all that kind of stuff. So that became like a big thing. And Satanic Bible. Yeah, interesting you say that because I also went through my stuff. I also got my receipts, so to speak. This is the very first binder. It's not very big, but it's the very first collection of things that I made between 7th and 10th grade. So that was before the internet. So the stuff in here is like copied out of books and stuff and my own notes. And I also, in one of the classes, I think sociology or something, I was given a chart that compares New Age with occultism and Satanism, laying out what it is and how to do it and all that kind of stuff. And oh my God, the stuff in here. Just for funsies, the overall description. So New Age here says that it's basically an umbrella term for believing in the possible like upcoming future golden age with like individual and global harmony, basically kind of like a spiritual utopia. That's what New Age was described as here. And I'm guessing this material might be from the 80s. I'm guessing there's no date here, but I think I was given this by a teacher. So they handed it out. They made this. This is not copied from a book. They must have done this on their own computer or something. And occultism, spiritism, is described as believing in hidden powers, mostly ghosts and dead people that have an influence on our plane of existence. And Satanism is believing in the existence and the power of Satan and evil to free the people, basically. And it also says here which one of these is like politically motivated, in which way, like left wing or anarchy or whatever kind of thing. It's very weird. But yeah, and according to this chart, they put anything like astrology, I Ching, tarot, nature healing, mythology, shamanism, meditation, all of these into the New Age group. And the occultism was anything regarding seances, basically. And what I also have in here, like there was also a chart. I don't know if you can see that. So they were analyzing which practices were done more than others. And this is only among teenagers. So I wrote here that sadly there are no numbers about adults doing this. So back then it was also like, oh yeah, this is a coming of age thing and teenagers are doing this. And, we have to make sure that they don't stray off the path and get involved with whatever kind of cult. And so, yeah, back then I was like photocopying things out of books and making my own notes and everything. So this is how I started working in the mid-90s doing my research. And in the teen magazines, we had articles like this where, people were talking about their personal experiences with the paranormal. And of course, to make sure that you know how dangerous this is, all the dangerous stuff and Satan and going to the graveyard and all that stuff. And here's another one like, yeah, I was one of the Satan's people and doing all these rituals and sacrificing animals and all that kind of stuff. So this was my first research in the 90s for this kind of topic. So let's see, what am I missing here? Miss Tara D is here. Hi, welcome. Thanks for being here. Satanic Anton Lavelle. Heard that name also, but I'm not very versed in the whole satanic thing. So, yeah. Yeah, with the whole Satanism, I never really had anything to do with that. But of course, my grandma was also, like, when I announced that I was practicing witchcraft, she was very worried that I would also end up in a graveyard at midnight, digging up some grave, sacrificing some animal, whatever. But of course, that's not what I did, and that's not what spirituality means to me. And yeah, so the whole like astrology became a thing. The phone lines started booming, and yeah, astrology, tarot, all that kind of stuff. Suddenly it was available, and people started doing it more in secret than out in the open. And if it was in the open, it was usually laughed at. So sip, sip, everyone. But then, I don't know if you can hear it, but that's my cat. And yes, she has been fed. She's got wet food, dry food, and water. But I guess she needs attention. So in the 2000s, like from the 2000s to 2010s, and those next, give or take 20 years, the focus shifted from that part of like the New Age movement more to self-help and self-empowerment. We had things like the law of attraction, the secret, and all these kinds of things. And suddenly it was all about manifesting your best life by simply believing it, speaking it into existence without really explaining anything. And yeah, like the meditation, yoga, all these things were so much more normal now. Yoga was even put into practice in some corporate workplaces for people to do maybe on their lunch break and, for for work-life balance, I guess, to like when you're sitting behind a desk and just doing computer work all day long, having something like yoga in between kind of helps for posture, for the body, for the mind, all that kind of stuff. And my cat is really being annoying. Why do you always have to do this during my live stream? Yeah, I don't know either. I'm sorry. And something that also happened in that time was, of course, in 2012, the Mayan calendar ended. So doomsday preparation. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Is a big comet coming and the Earth is going to stop existing? Who knows? So better make sure that you call ahead and make sure you reserve your spot in heaven. And so when things like that happen, when there's like a a doomsday kind of scenario on the horizon, people tend to get more spiritual, whatever that means for them, during those times, because when we're faced with our own mortality, I guess we just want to make sure that just in case the stuff is real, that we make amends and we pray and we, just in case. So that's when like spirituality kind of rises. And we could see this next with like 2020 and like the time that we're in now. We all know what happened in 2020, and there was another surge in the whole spirituality thing and in the consumerism aspect of it as well. But also in the 2010s, the internet played a lot bigger of a role in the whole spirituality and the spiritual world. And in a way, like with social media coming up, I already said this, spirituality was turned into snackable content, something that, like quick and dirty things like doing these readings and getting a lot of followers, making it aesthetically pleasing, all of that. But at the same time, as much as this became popular, it also became a little bit diluted, and I'm going to talk about that in a bit. I'm spiritual and still prep. Yeah. So in the 2020s, there also, like, when something rises on one side, there always has to be the equal balance opposite on the other side. So skepticism always also gets bigger. There can't just be one thing, it has to be in balance. And so, yeah, the back and forth of what's real, what's not real, that's always going to be there. And something that also since 2020 has, or like in that time frame, become more popular is the entire shadow work aspect of it, and dealing with ourselves, looking inward and not just looking outward. It's not about predicting anything so much anymore. It's really working on ourselves and not just trying to manifest something, but understanding and really looking at, okay, why am I doing this? Why do I believe this? Why is this influencing me so much or triggering me? Really asking questions and looking for answers to understand. Now, when it comes to what I mean spiritually diluted in terms of internet, something that has happened is, I think we can call it fast food spirituality. My cat. Ja, was möchtest du? Du hast dein Essen. Should I put the microphone to her so she can speak? I guess she has an opinion. So yeah, like kind of fast food spirituality in a way, and oversimplifying things. Where, like I said, with like the law of attraction, you simply have to imagine it and manifest it into existence. But if you really read the materials about manifestation and what that entails, like how you have to shift your mind and your way of thinking in order to really make that shift in reality happen, there's a lot more to it than just pretty thoughts. It's not simply, and now the dogs are barking out. So what is going on here today? Must be the full moon tomorrow. Something's in the air. So yeah, like just think positive and everything will be fine. That kind of thing. Kind of problematic, but yeah, that's what happens when on the internet suddenly everyone can publish. I mean, as good as it is that we are now in a position where everyone can have a voice, like I have my channel, I use my voice right now. And with something like Amazon or other platforms, we can self-publish books, we can put our own material, our thoughts out there. And instead of like publishing houses that publish books, when they get a manuscript, they have lots of people reading through it and verifying it, looking at the source material, making sure that everything is in order before they even publish that. Now with the internet, we don't need to go through that process anymore. Anyone can just put anything out there. And that kind of also is what I'm talking about in terms of diluting it, because we also now have to really be careful with what we think is true, what we know is true, and where we have to ask questions, maybe dig a little deeper. And yeah, that can sometimes be a little bit tricky, because misinformation is everywhere nowadays and it's so easy to do. So we really have to be more, what's the word? Well, we should be more concerned with, research and not just taking something as is. Like the people who wrote the stuff about the Satanism here, it was probably more for sensationalism, and I don't think they really asked a lot of questions. It was basically just fear-mongering in a way, especially to keep the youth away from these dangerous things. What do you want? This is weird today. This is a weird live stream. I apologize. But this is live, unscripted. It happens. If you would at least come up here and say hello so that people could see you. Okay. Now, something that also in terms of this whole diluting thing is that with everyone having their channels, it is more, or it can be, not it is, but it can be more performative than actually spiritual, helpful. Because, yeah, a lot of us are doing things for clicks and likes, and, we want to maybe even earn some money from this, which is perfectly fine. But as the viewers, it's interesting to be able to distinguish. And there she is, Artemis. And yeah, so we really have to dig a little deeper to find out what kind of content might be helpful for us personally, and what is just out there to be, big and flashy and shiny and all that kind of stuff. The Instagram friendly altar setups, and making sure that, and I've done this too, like putting some nice flowers and crystals in the camera frame so everything looks nice, instead of simply just putting the cards on the table. So yeah, I mean, that happens. And then, but at the same time, I think they miss the point. Satanists are actually atheists, and then the media and such demonize them for it. Are they atheists when they believe in something? I thought atheists don't believe in anything. Good question. Different topic. Who are Satanists? I don't know enough about that to speak on that. But yeah, with the whole commercialization of spirituality, now we also have this, for $500, you can, unlock your third eye over the weekend, like buy this course and whatever, especially nowadays, like everyone trying to make money online. There's so many courses and coaches and retreats and everything. So it's also a cash grab. There is a lot of money in it. And some people are really charming and they know how to talk people into buying their stuff. And there might not be a lot behind it. Who knows? Everyone has to decide that for themselves. People just gravitate to what validates them. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're atheists. They just call themselves the Satanic Temple. Yeah, like I said, I don't know anything about the Satanists. I cannot really speak on that topic. Okay, so now, as much as there are like downsides to the whole internet spirituality and everything, there are also some good things from this whole thing. For one, things are way more accessible. When I think back to uh, these times, it was very difficult for me. Like some of the information in here I got from books in the library, and they had, like in my hometown, maybe 3 or 4 books. One was on astrology, one was on like spiritual occult stuff, and the other I don't remember, but also something similar. And that was basically it. It was really difficult to get my hands on any kind of material to research this. So it was just these 3 or 4 books, like 3 VHS tapes of Erich von Däniken and X-Files, basically. And then later, the show Supernatural also kind of taught me some stuff. But yeah, now because of the internet, I have the world's library at my fingertips, and I can even take it with me on my phone. So I can now research whatever I want. I can look into anything. And that has made it very easy to become more informed, to learn about these things, and to be able to practice it in a way that is more meaningful, speaking from my experience, because now with all of this information, it doesn't feel like I'm like fishing in the dark. In the 90s, like later 90s, I also bought a lot of books, like whatever good stuff that I could find at the local bookstore. I bought, so I had like Silver Raven Wolf, for example, and some other books on witchcraft and rituals and everything. And over time, I learned that I don't have to follow the rituals in the book to the T, like a recipe, that I can make my own stuff. And I developed my own way of practicing my spirituality. I cannot even put a label or a name to what it is that I'm doing or what I believe in. I use the term witch because I think that's the easiest term to describe what I do, what I practice, because I do rituals and I combine it with astrology. For example, tomorrow is a full moon. So if I wanted to do a full moon ritual, I would look at the chart and see, okay, where is the moon currently? It's in Pisces. So then I would maybe look at a ritual that helps me with my psychic powers, or my third eye, something like that, because Pisces is the psychic sign. And also taking into consideration that there is the Mercury-Saturn conjunction in Pisces as well. Venus is also retrograde. So all of these things I take into consideration to make sure that what the energy of the planets is aligns with the intent that I want to put out. So that's how I use that. And I don't really know a name for that. I can't really put a label on that. Astrology witch? I don't know. And yeah, I use candle magic. So I use fire. I work with the elements. I call them in. And that's pretty much it. I burn stuff. I have herbs and other kinds of things that I work with. But yeah, I don't subscribe to the name pagan. I don't subscribe to Wiccan or anything like that. I don't have a specific denomination or a category that I would fit in, because I'm just doing my own thing, and I don't really advertise it. I don't talk about it because it's a very private thing. Like, I don't tell anyone what I'm doing in my rituals, because I also think that, when you tell someone about it, they can, with their negative energy, kind of mess things up. So I don't talk about this. Mm, yeah. I have to kind of agree, though, the capitalism is definitely becoming a problem. Were we just talking about that this morning? Yeah, the capitalism is always somehow playing into it. People want to make money one way or another. Yeah, but in terms of the internet, we have the opportunity, just like right here in this very moment, of the global connection, because I'm speaking to like whoever sees this around the world, and the people in the chat here are from America. I'm sitting in Germany, and we're able to have a conversation about this kind of thing. So that is a good thing that came out of the internet spirituality. Meeting like-minded people and being able to have conversations and discourse and sharing experiences, learning from each other. And another thing, of course, I mentioned the downside of being able to publish everything, but at the same time, we also have accessibility. We can access so many things for free now. We have all of these resources we can share with one another, and we have the opportunity to self-educate. This is something where you don't have to book a course to learn something. You can do this on your own. And it's now easier than ever. Like back then in the 80s or 90s, when you had a few books and they more likely left you with more questions than you got answers from them, it was kind of difficult. And unless you had someone who was also interested in these things that you can actually talk to, I imagine it sometimes probably was a bit frustrating. And nowadays, it is so easy. There are so many platforms where you can just chat with someone, but whether it's on social media or Discord or wherever, Reddit, you can have conversations with other people and educate each other in these kinds of things. And you can also, publish courses. There are so many platforms where you can have a course, you can do memberships and all these kinds of things to help other people learn this kind of stuff. So it's not this whole gatekeeping thing anymore, where it's like, no, this is my knowledge. I'm not going to share it. Nowadays, it's like, here's the knowledge. Please learn. Come, learn it. You know, we want to have awareness of these kinds of things. And another thing that comes with that is the personal growth and the empowerment, because hearing about all these different things has helped me to find the tools that made it possible for me to even go on this journey of self-discovery, to find the tools for shadow work, to figure out how to even do it, and to therefore work on the issues that I'm dealing with and to find a way to manage them in my everyday life. And to, like, I talked about this in the therapy video. For me, this helped me in moments when the doctors, like the medical professionals, ignored me. So the internet is what helped me with that, because I found other women that were going through the same thing. And it was only because of their testimonials that I was able to get my answers that the doctors denied me. So this sense of, education, information, empowerment is a very good thing when it comes to like learning about spirituality and practicing it and all these kinds of things. You can also learn about the history and like share research, all of these things. We have the opportunity to diversify all of these things. And also we can really learn about the backstories of things, because a lot of things that we use that we just throw around so easily, like chakras. I am also guilty of that. I have never really looked into the origin of where all of that comes from. I don't know if that's like Buddhism or something. Might be wrong. I don't know. Or like the whole smudging thing coming from indigenous people, and what that even means, what that entails, why they do it, why do we do it, and all that stuff. But I also had my incense ready, and in terms of renovating that room, getting all that negative energy out, I had my incense, my Palo Santo, and I was smudging like crazy in that room. But of course, I have to admit, I have never looked into the history of that. Even though it's available to me, I've never done it. I probably should. So, or ashes on my in my head. So yeah, like we have all of these opportunity now, and we have community, we have support. When someone has a question and they don't know what to do, you can always turn to others and you can find people around the world. Like I said, here where I live, I don't have anyone who does tarot. I cannot ask anyone here about any kind of tarot questions. And I'm really thankful that there is a community out here that I can turn to, where I can ask my questions, get answers, have a discourse. That wasn't possible back in the 90s, for example. We can also develop new spiritual practices and products and everything. So even developing this further, taking it to the next level, moving up in this whole ascension thing, and not staying stagnant in this spirituality and having it kind of like, this is how it's always been and this is how it's going to stay. But incorporating all these different things, getting new ideas, fresh perspectives, means that we're keeping this development going, and we're learning about things that we otherwise, without the internet, might not have known about. I think that the whole thing with the cultural appropriation, and some people in the spiritual community kind of have issues with some of their spiritual aspects being used. That cultural appropriation can mean different things to different people. Yeah. Excuse me. Let's have a sip sip. Cool. Yeah. So also with like creating online courses, teaching people. So we are expanding the knowledge that we have, and we don't have to stay stagnant. We're moving forward. We're always moving into the future, so to speak. And I think that is a very good thing. Taking new thoughts into account, new developments, and combining it with other things like spirituality and science, for example. There's this book that I really like. It's like You Are Psychic. And this is a book that talks about experiments that have been done to prove or disprove psychic abilities. And this was done by an MIT trained scientist's proven program for expanding your psychic powers. So, like, the MIT was even experimenting with this. And we now also know that in, was it like the 60s or 70s, certain agencies were experimenting with things like this. So there's even a scientific approach to this. And yeah, this is a really good book. I can recommend. I can put the link in the description if anyone's interested. And yeah, just finding new ways of doing that. This is not a standstill kind of thing, like once you know it forever. No. And combining it and putting it into use for, especially in this time when everyone is so stressed and mental health is like way beyond anything that we can imagine. Like, everyone's dealing with stuff. So having something like mindfulness, meditation, all of these practices to help us calm down and navigate this human experience, I think that's a very good thing. And in that, the internet helps us to find these things, whether it's something as simple as having the meditation music or like a guided meditation on YouTube. I use those too. Like, when I can't fall asleep, I have my phone, I turn on one of those meditation videos, and then it helps me fall asleep. Or like, I can visualize some stuff, but it's easier for me if someone tells me, okay, close your eyes and now imagine there is a river, and then there's green grass, and there's a tree in the background, and there's, I don't know, a bird flying through the sky, whatever. It's easier for me to work with that than to have to imagine all of these things by myself. So in that sense, the internet making all of that available is awesome. It's great. And Debbie is here. Hi, welcome. Thanks for being here. So, yeah, like the whole mental health connection to spirituality, I absolutely love it. And I'm so thankful that I'm able to find all these tools and to have them available to do this. Like I said, doctors didn't give a damn. So I found another way. And in that, I can honestly say, even though we always say tarot is not a substitute for therapy, but tarot helped me better than therapy. So I ditched therapy for tarot to help myself, basically. Guided meditations, yeah. And I have to admit, like sometimes those guided meditations are maybe like 20 minutes or so, and they do the countdown. And at the end of it, they count back up to get you out of it. And when I fall asleep, even if it's just 10 minutes, like when they count up again, I always wake up. And that is the most satisfying sleep ever. Like 10 minutes feels like an entire night of sleep. And I feel so well rested afterwards. It's amazing. Like when in college, I tried yoga and they would always do this kind of stuff towards, was it the end or the beginning? And I would usually fall asleep, which I could find out later because you could hear that I was sleeping. But yeah, I was so refreshed afterwards. I didn't really care for the yoga, but the meditation part, that was awesome. So yeah, in terms of the whole spirituality thing, and like telling someone, yeah, if you got stuff in your life going on, you can't possibly be spiritual. What I should have said is, and I wrote this down here, uh, I should have said being spiritual doesn't mean having it all together. It means staying curious and compassionate with myself while at the same time trying to figure out the hard stuff. Going to therapy is spiritual. Sitting with my grief and trying to heal trauma is spiritual. Not having all the answers and still trying to understand myself and grow is spiritual. So I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm living a spiritual life. Just because it doesn't fit into your definition of spiritual doesn't mean that it's true. It's just you might have a very different experience or a very different definition than I do. But I didn't say that. I should have said that spirituality is not about perfection. It's not a like what's the thing? There's a thing in America like beautiful living or whatever, where they photograph the most perfect houses and the perfect apartment and all that kind of stuff. Like in Sex and the City, when Charlotte with her first husband was having that home story done with like taking their pictures and it's like the perfect thing, but behind the scenes the marriage was falling apart and everything. It's kind of like that. You know, you can portray to the outside whatever you want, but everyone has stuff happening on the inside behind the scenes, and that doesn't make it any less perfect. She still had a beautiful home that was worth taking pictures of, but the divorce happened. It was messy. What can you do? Yeah. Spirituality is far from perfection. And that's actually the point. I mean, hashtag Kundalini, right? I mean, we're going through this process, the spirituality, in order to level up for the ascension, to move from 3D to 5D, 7D, 9D, whatever D. And the only way that that can happen is if we go through the messy stuff. How can you actually level up when your life is already perfect? That doesn't really work, does it? Okay, so I want to end this on a positive note. So I have, just give me a second. Maybe if you want to get a pen and paper in the meantime, because I wrote down some questions to have a quiz of how spiritual are you? And there is a scoring system. So we're gonna write down points. and I'm going to give you the questions. And the scale is from 1 to 10. Number 1 meaning the lowest, so nope, that's actually not me. And number 5 meaning absolutely, that's my life. Okay, I'm going to take another sip and give you a moment to get a pen and paper so that you can calculate your scores. I should probably get one too. Okay, I am ready. Okay, and if you miss this, you can always watch this back. So question number 1. Remember, so number 1, or like answer number 1, not at all. Number 5, absolutely. So question 1, you've had a dark night of the soul and came out stronger because of it. Or these are not questions, but statements. So rate that on a scale of 1 to 5. You've had a dark night of the soul and came out stronger because of it. Number 2, you don't just pull tarot or oracle cards, you actively integrate their lessons into your life. I repeat, you don't just pull tarot or oracle cards, you actively integrate their lessons into your life. Number 3, you've experienced a major life shift because of a spiritual awakening. You've experienced a major life shift because of a spiritual awakening. Number 4, you don't just read about energy work, you've practiced it, whether that's Reiki, spell work, chakra healing, breath work, any of that. So you don't just read about energy work, you also practice it. Number 5, you've gone beyond pop spirituality and explored deeper teachings, whether that's Hermeticism, Kabbalion, Gnosticism, Buddhism, anything like that. So you've gone beyond pop spirituality and explored deeper teachings. Kabbalah belongs in that as well, or even tarot and astrology. Number 6, you can tell the difference between intuition and fear-based thinking when making decisions. You can tell the difference between intuition and fear-based thinking when making decisions. Number 7, you've experienced ego death, shadow work, or deep inner transformation. No love and light bypassing here. So no toxic positivity. You've experienced ego death, shadow work, or deep inner transformation. No love and light bypassing. Number 8, you understand and practice spiritual protection, like cleansing, shielding, cord cutting, all those things. You understand and practice spiritual protection. Number 9, you've encountered spirit guides, ancestors, or other unseen energies in a real way or in real life. You've encountered spirit guides, ancestors, or other unseen energies in real life, in a real way. And the last statement or question, your spiritual path isn't just about getting as in manifesting abundance. It's also about giving and evolving. Your spiritual path isn't just about getting, it's also about giving and evolving. So, now that should give you anywhere between 10 to 50 points. Let me just count mine. Okay. I have 46. I had to subtract a little bit. Okay, Debbie has 42. If you want to share your points, feel free to do so. The answer to everything. Yeah. I thought so too, but when I was 42, that was one of my the year with most questions. Midlife crisis time. Okay, I'm going to give this another minute, and then I'm going to tell you the scoring. Okay, so if you have anywhere between 10 to 19 points, you're the spiritual tourist. You like the idea of spirituality, but you might not be fully immersed in it yet. Maybe you pick and choose what resonates, but you haven't dived deep into the harder aspects like shadow work or energy mastery. Keep exploring. The next one is 20 to 29 points, and that I call the awakened student. You're on the path and you have put in some real work. You've gone beyond surface level spirituality and started integrating it into your life. With time and practice, you will deepen your wisdom even further. Now, the next one, 30 to 39 points, I call the practicing mystic. You live your spirituality, not just talk about it. You faced challenges, done deep work, and built real skills. You understand both the light and shadow sides of the spiritual journey. This isn't just a hobby for you, it's a way of being. And now the last category, 40 to 50 points, the spiritual master. You're the real deal. You've walked through the fire of transformation and emerged wiser. You live in alignment with your spiritual truth, and your practice is second nature. You're probably the one guiding others now. Okay. 54? I don't know how that's possible when you can only have 50 as a maximum. Because there was only 10, and if you have 5... But let's just go with a last category in that case, I believe. Even if it was 45, that would still put you in the last category. Thanks. Yeah, I was thinking like what they do in these magazines when they ask these questions, and I thought, yeah, why not do that? Why not have a quiz? Because yeah, what that person said to me, like, yeah, you can't possibly be spiritual. I wanted to think of a way to like prove that in a way, but of course there is no real way of proving it, and I don't have to prove myself to anyone. But yeah, for the sake of this broadcast here, I thought, why not have a little bit of entertainment and a little bit of fun with this? So that's why I thought, why not do a little test? Okay, and we are at the hour. So that was, yeah, once again, a very personal topic to me and one that irked me for a little bit. Next week on Saturday, I will showcase this little thing here. I made my own tarot deck. It's called the Tough Love Tarot. And next week, I'm going to show the deck. I got it a few days ago from Make Playing Cards. Link is also in the description if anyone is interested. And next week, I'm going to go through every card and say what they're all about, because there's also a lot of stories in this and why I put this together, because this is also part of my healing journey. And if you are interested, I would be happy to see you next Saturday. Oh, you were trying to hurry. Thank you. It was good having you on. I can't wait to see it all. Thank you for being here. Okay. So, yeah, if you want to be here for that next Saturday, that would be a lot of fun. And I will tell you all about my deck. I hope you all have a good rest of your weekend. And yeah, don't let anyone discourage you on your spiritual path. They don't know what we're going through. It's an individual thing. So what do they know? And with that, take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye.